Hi guys, today we're going to do a Dell Inspiron power tip. This is a 5160, and a lot of the Inspirons and Latitudes that look silver like this have that round barrel DC jack. I'll show you how to get that out, how to diagnose it, and how to fix it. This project is roughly between an hour to 2 hours because the whole laptop actually has to come apart. That's something we do here at the shop, so if you guys are uncomfortable pulling your laptop apart, you're welcome to send it in to us, and we charge a flat fee on that. Alright, here we go. Okay, first thing we're going to do is pull off the switch plate. Pretty easy. There's a little notch on the right hand side here. Just take a flat blade screwdriver and you can pop it up. Just kind of wiggle it and snap it. Doesn't really require any kind of finesse, just pull that thing off. Next thing you're going to do is pull out the keyboard, and there's 4 screws on the top here that have to come out, then the keyboard's going to snap out. Real simple. And I use the old-fashioned sharp tip screwdriver. I don't use any kind of drills or rechargeable screwdrivers because it's very easy to strip out screws on a laptop. That comes out. Next thing is going to be the screen here. A couple screws here in the hinge. There we are. And there's a couple screws in the back here. Just 2. I don't know if you guys can see, but the plastic on the hinge snapped up, and that's pretty common on these models too. Easy to replace it. Just get a plastic for the LCD on eBay and you could flip that out. Just a couple screws and it all pops apart. Now I'm going to pull the screen off. Okay. What you got here that actually has to come off too before the screen will come out is this little aluminum plate. This is just basically a shield and comes out pretty easy. 1 screw on that, and there's a LCD ribbon cable that comes off of the video that's built onto the board, and your screen should pop off like so. That's the first portion. On this project, we're going to have to take the palm off, the CPU heatsink here, as well as this heatsink. So it's definitely a good, I'd say, hour to 2 hours, depending on how good you are pulling them apart. But they do come apart pretty easy, and that's something we do here at the shop. Okay, we're going to flip this over. There's 2 screws. This is actually the hard drive caddy. 2 little screws that I pulled out, and this slides out like so. I'm going to put this on the side. We're going to take out the memory door, as well as the card door. This is for the little wireless card, which it does have wireless in here. There we go. Turn this around. There's a little notch for the battery. You just pull this aside, and the battery slides out pretty easy. Again, this is very similar to a 5150, 5100, the 600M, 500M. Most of the Dell series that's a silver like this is going to have the little round barrel style DC tip. Alright, the DVD-RW comes out, and we're going to take out these screws for the top pad here. Pretty simple, quite a few of them. It does help when you have a light magnet tip on the screwdriver. There we are. Okay, for the little touchpad, there's a little wire that connects to the board. We unconnect that. We got it here, yeah. There it is. And now you're looking at the actual motherboard of this laptop. I'm going to pull out the 4 large set screws for the CPU cooler. And this is a great time while you have it apart to clean out the CPU cooler. I'm going to also put some thermal grease, but yeah, it pops apart like that. And I'm actually going to pull this plate out so I can see what's on the other side of this copper heatsink. This one actually looks pretty clean, so that's in pretty good shape. But I will blow that out. I'm going to also clean off this CPU with a little bit of alcohol, and then put some thermal grease on there as well. Definitely while it's apart, great time to do that. And it's kind of like maintenance for a car. You just want to make sure this thing keeps running good for years to come. Okay, on the back of this, for the video, is little hex screws on there. It's going to get in there with a needle nose and just give it a tweak, and you can take it out with your hands pretty easy. Pop that out. And the next one. And I think we got a couple more little screws in there, and the board's going to come out, and we'll be able to get at the back side of that DC jack. There we are. Alright, got another screw there. Yeah, this one's definitely been apart before. I can see it's missing screws all over the place. Here. That's the actual chipset on the board. And you'll notice Dell puts a little thermal pad on there. I'm also going to put some thermal grease on that chipset just to keep that running cool as well. But that's it. We've got direct access to the board now. I'm going to pull this board out and we're going to look at the other side. There we are. A couple wires still attached to that. I'm going to pull out. There we go. I'm going to move this aside. Okay. This is the bottom side of the board. And I'm going to pull this closer to the camera so you can see. This one, you can see it's been repaired before. I hope that comes out good in the video. So it looks like it just didn't take too well. Yeah, I got a couple cold solder joints on that. We'll go ahead and fix it. Sometimes the DC sockets are still good and we don't have to replace those. If it's just a cold solder joint, it's something that you can resolder with a little bit of flux and solder, and they come back to life. If you notice that you do resolder it and all your connections look good, but you still don't get any power, you probably have a blown out DC jack. So that would be something you definitely want to go ahead and replace. So what I'm going to do here is just heat up the board again. There we are. I just want to reflow the solder onto the board and make sure it's got a great connection. There we are. And again, this is something, if you don't want to do it, we do it here at the shop. If you guys have any comments, please leave those. If you have questions, I'd be glad to get back with you. Just give me a couple days sometimes to get back with you. I do get a lot of email during the week. There we are. Yeah, it's important to have a good soldering iron with a nice tip. You just want that to reflow into place. Perfect. Alright. Well, it looks good from this side. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over and examine the board. And it looks clean on this side too. Hopefully I can get that in a shot for you guys. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, that jack is pretty clean. I'm gonna also touch the back of it a little bit, and I got a little bit of flux. Let me put this down. It's hard to do the camera work and solder at the same time, but I'm going to put a little bit of flux here, right where it meets with the board, on the two outer and that center pin. That center pin is very important. That actually tells the unit what kind of adapter that it has, if it's a 70 watt or a 90 watt. There we are. I'm just going to flow it up on that pole a little bit. Without that, even sometimes it'll come up and say the battery is not identified. But definitely when you get a beep when it's posting and says, hey, the adapter has not been identified, that's usually the problem, is that center pole. And it's a very thin trace on there, so they do break. And sometimes you can put a little bit of flux on it and flow some solder up and fix that. But those tips are pretty cheap. I got mine on eBay. There's a couple vendors out there that sell these. This one is notebookworks.net, and I got a 10-pack. I want to say we paid like 30 bucks for a 10-pack, so that's $3 a piece. But this one looks good. I'm going to put it back together, clean everything up, and see how it does.